What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a lot to go over in a short amount of time. We're going to talk about, of course, all of the crazy events going on around the world. In some experts' minds, it's already hit the fan. We'll be right back and let you know why. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a lot to go over, and if you're new here, remember you can always go over to marfooglenews.com and get our notifications and our email list. That email list is good for if anything happened to us or right before everybody drops things in the box to pick who they want to run our country. We just disappear. That's how we would get a hold of you. So make sure to go over there and check that out. And then over on our website, we provide a full bibliography for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here. That way you have a source for everything that we are saying here. Again, you'll go over to the website. It's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. You'll look for today's thumbnail. This is not good. It is hitting the fan. Poland hosting nukes. Again, and then you'll see that all of the articles, tweets, videos, pictures, documents are there. That way you can actually grab a second device if you're watching on your TV or you're watching on a tablet or a computer. You can actually grab your phone or a second device and you can follow along. You can read the articles with us, or you can go back on an article that we didn't cover all the way through. We don't always have time to cover every single article, so remember you have access to it there. If you say, hey, I wonder what did he say next? You can always go back and check that. And then at the very bottom, there's overflow. That is all the stuff that we could not fit into a 2-hour time period. So make sure to go check that out. Dex will be going over all of that at the very end. And then also all over on the right, those are all of our affiliates. And then if you are interested, carsforheroes.org, that link will bring you directly to them. If you are a vet in need of transportation, there is a form you can fill out there. And who knows, you may actually be able to receive some sort of transportation. Again, they are giving cars for heroes, such as veterans, of course, police, firefighters, all sorts of great people. If you or someone you know is a veteran in need, then you can actually fill out the form for them. These really, really, really great organization. Make sure to go check it out. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So, first of all, we have a ton to go over in not very much time. So, and today is a call-in show. So if you do want to call in, it's 224400-MARF. That's, again, 224400-6273. That number will be scrolling down below on the black bar. If you forget it, or if you are waiting, if you don't have letters on your phone, you can always wait for the second time around. It will show you the numbers. Disturbance in the Atlantic now has 80% chance of development. So it says that one of two disturbances in the Atlantic now has an 80% chance of becoming a tropical depression sometime in the next 48 hours, the National Hurricane Center said. So this is after Ian and, of course, the crazy storm that went through. This is something that a lot of people are watching because a disturbance is before a tropical storm, and obviously a tropical storm, I believe, is below a hurricane. So hopefully something else does not pop up. It says Hurricane Orlean, of course, hit the Pacific coast of Mexico. And again, there's stuff going on all over the place. So we will follow it and we will make sure to update you. Make sure to subscribe if you want updates on all of the storms. And then keep it or toss it. Best before labels cause confusion. As awareness grows around the world about the problem of food waste, one culprit in particular is drawing scrutiny. Best before labels. Manufacturers have used the labels for decades to estimate peak freshness, unlike use by labels, which are found on perishable foods like meat and dairy. Best before labels have nothing to do with safety and may encourage consumers to throw away food that's perfectly fine to eat. I have known about this for a very long time. Use by is totally different than best by. Best by means it's going to taste the best or whatever, but you can eat it past that. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that most of us have eaten past its date because it is best used by. It's a suggestion. It says they read these dates and then they assume that it's bad, that they can't eat it, and then they toss it. When these dates don't actually mean that they're not edible or that they're not still nutritious or tasty, said Patty Apple, a manager at Food Shift at Alameda, California, that collects used, expired, and imperfect foods. It says to tackle the problem, major UK chains like Waitrose, Sainsbury, and Mark and Spencer's recently removed best before labels from prepackaged fruit and vegetables. The European Union is expected to announce a revamp to its labeling laws by the end of this year. It's considering abolishing best before labels altogether, which is this is kind of a big trip. Honestly, a lot of people waste a whole lot of food, and especially food that is best before a certain date, but it actually lasts, a year or 2 years. There's a lot of food like that ends up, going to waste or being thrown away. This is something that a lot of preppers know because obviously we look at our stash and we say, okay, well, says it's good until this date, and you actually look at it and you go, well, okay, that actually could last another 5 years, but it says that it won't taste as fresh or as good. So this is something that really needs to be paid attention to. Don't throw away food if it has a best before. Make sure to go check on what the dates are actually, how long it lasts. And then it says, I do not think the level of support for this has grown tremendously, said Dana Gunders, executive director of ReFed, a New York-based nonprofit for studies food waste. It basically says that the United Nations estimates that 17% of global food production is wasted each year. More of that comes from households. In the U.S., as much as 35% of food available goes uneaten. I know most of you have probably seen that. That's 1/3 of all food in America that could be eaten basically goes to waste. That is pretty horrendous when you think about all of the homeless folks that could, potentially eat it. Or anybody that is, starving and again, people don't think of that happening in America, in Canada, in Australia, and in Europe. It is, again, something that is a huge issue. And then opinion, battery electric cars are the future, not so fast. Hydrogen-powered cars will give them a run for their money. So, by the way, I had a friend like 10 or 12 years ago or something that had a water-powered Honda. It was like a hydrogen. It was like some sort of hybrid thing. And I remember that this did not go very far. It actually kind of tanked. No pun intended. It said governments across the world are supporting the development of hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles because of their advantages. So I don't know, maybe this might pick up now. It says the idea of using hydrogen to power vehicles is not a new one. It's been around for over a century, but the technology behind it is only recently started to gain traction. China plans to have 1 million hydrogen-powered vehicles on the roads by 2035, and Japan, which has a much smaller population, is shooting for 800,000 units by 2030. 800,000, and that's specifically of hydrogen-powered. It says, although their numbers are still rather low in Europe, 3,885 new cars were registered in 2021, with only 228 refueling stations available. The EU has lofty goals for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. According to some sources, 4.3 million vehicles should enter traffic by 2030. So this is really important. If you look at what the dates are that they're putting, they're saying that in the next 8 years, which flies by like that. I mean, think about if you remember 2001 in September, that horrible event. Or in fact, this is more close. If you remember the Japanese earthquake that all of us watched on the news, no matter where you were, most every place in the planet showed that tsunami. That was actually around the same time that all of a sudden we're going to have all of these electric cars and all of these hydrogen vehicles. They're saying that they'll have another 4 million hydrogen cell vehicles on the market. So that's pretty crazy considering nobody's even talking about this compared to electric vehicles. It says in the U.S., total sales in 2021 reached 3,300, up 257% from 2020 when 937 vehicles were sold. As of the end of 2021, there were 12,272 FCEVs on U.S. roads, according to Geopolitical.info. Would you drive a hydrogen car? I guess so. They say that there's only limited fueling centers around. Dex, I don't know if you know anything about hydrogen cars. Obviously, it doesn't. You can't just put water in it. It's some sort of mixture. I'm assuming. I've never drove one or never been around one. I mean, who has one? Is there anybody in the audience that knows what is the fuel like for this? Do they have to add gas and water, or is it watered down gas? I don't know. I would love to hear it in the chat. If you are super smart and know the answer, let me know. Shannon Crow says, if a car crashed, would it blow up? Well, I don't know if they put the Pinto upgrade on it, but who knows? DJ, thank you for being here. Dwayne Hansen. Bob Lazar has one. That's no surprise. The guy that made a rocket car. It's compressed gas, says Jamie Turnage. I honestly, I didn't know. Like I knew one guy who had one back in the day. Somebody says, Joe Mata says salt. It's a gas. Well, I know it's a type of gas, right? But they say it's used hydrogen, so it's like a water-based gas or something. And compressed. I guess that makes sense. You fill it with hydrogen gas, and then is that going to become an issue and something that we high demand and low supply? Let's see here. Yes, the Pinto upgrade. Yeah, I believe it's free. In fact, it's even gives you a discount. It will take your wife or family away. And then we have OPEC to cut oil production by 2 million barrels per day to shore up prices, defying U.S. pressure. A group of some of the world's most powerful oil producers on Wednesday agreed to impose deep output cuts, seeking to spur a recovery in crude prices, despite calls from the U.S. to pump more to help the global economy. It says OPEC and non-OPEC allies, a group often referred to as OPEC Plus, decided at their first face-to-face gathering since 2020 to cut production by 2 million barrels per day from November, which is kind of mind-boggling considering what is going on right now. It says a day ago, energy market participants had expected OPEC Plus, which includes Saudi Arabia and Russia, to impose production cuts of somewhere between 500,000 barrels to 2 million barrels. The move represents a major reversal in production policy for the alliance, which slashed output cuts by a record 10 million barrels per day in early 2020 when demand crashed due to the CV. Now, pretty crazy that during the CV, they said that the most people or basically the least cars were on the road ever, or at least in the last 5 decades. It says oil prices have fallen to roughly $80 a barrel from over $120 in early June, amid growing fears about the prospect of a global economic recession. I like how they say fears about the prospect of a global economic recession. Pretty much any country you look at right now is doing absolutely horrid. Inflation is rampant all over the planet, and people are still not waking up. Says the production cut for November is an attempt to reverse this slide despite repeated pressure from the U.S. President JB administration for the group to pump more of the lower fuel prices ahead of midterm elections next month. International benchmark Brent crude futures traded at 91.96 a barrel during afternoon deals in London, up around 0.2%. So it says selfishly motivated. Energy analysts said that the actual impact of the group's supply cuts for November was likely to be limited, with unilateral cuts by Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Iraq, and Kuwait likely to do the main job. What's more, analysts said that it currently is difficult for OPEC Plus to form a view more than a month or two into the future as the energy market faces uncertainty of more European sanctions on non-OPEC producer Russia, including shipping insurance, price caps, and reduced petroleum imports. So, by the way, you can call in at 224-400-MARF if you have an opinion on this. Again, with Saudi Arabia doing all sorts of funky stuff here, we have essentially, let me look, I think this is coming up here in just a second. Yeah, we won't talk about that yet. I have something coming up here that makes a lot of sense. But these groups are actually it's believed that a lot of countries are actually taking Russia and China's side. So there's a lot of neutral countries that are actually now leaning towards, if there was a total, absolute conflict of the world, a World War III type of scenario, there's actually a lot of countries that are now leaning towards joining the China/Russia alliance. And then we have other countries that we don't know if they're actually going to have. There's NATO countries that might even have beef with other NATO countries. So lots of crazy things going on for sure. A lot of crazy things being said right now. In this next week, we'll be giving you updates on a lot of the insane military information that is going out right now. Obviously, we talked about it just two days ago. NATO just deployed 9,000 soldiers on a massive, super advanced carrier, which is going to have its own strike group. That is going to the Atlantic, I believe. And then, of course, there are a whole bunch of other actions being done. This was on top of a week of Russia moving, supposedly moving nuclear missiles to Kherson. You had, of course, all of a sudden 2 days ago, a nuclear submarine that actually houses the Poseidon system. It's a drone that supposedly is a nuclear drone that can cause a 1,600-foot wave on a coastal city. That went missing. That was in port, and now it's just gone. It's underwater, and they don't know where it is. And, of course, all of the Nord Stream pipeline stuff that's been going on, and even the accusations from respected scientists and respected professors saying that they think it was actually, us. So crazy. This week has been absolutely nuts. One on B, thank you for being here. Terry Carter. Let's see here. Marf, you got reports back almost a decade saying Saudi Arabia's main oil wells were down 40% and now importing. I didn't catch the rest of that. That was a long one. Joe Mata in the Arctic now. In the Arctic right now, Russia has times 12 their base presence there in just a few months. So something is going on. Somebody else said 570 in Bellingham. Yeah, it's five. Yeah, there was a gas station for premium. It was like 645 near Seattle. So that was pretty bad. If you were getting the cheap stuff, I think it was like 615. Mystery School says liked and shared. Only you actually wrote chatted. I hope you can clean that up. But and then Anna Trejos, thank you. Misconduct. Jamie Turnage. The world will fall without our tax dollars. B Cats says that sub is probably getting into position. That's a scary thought, and you can't even say that without people saying, "Oh, you're just scaring people." The nuclear submarine that has this scary system is now missing. Are you supposed to not cover it and just be like, wait until it pops up again and be like, well, I was going to tell you, but we were going to wait until it hit you. Because I think people should just get hit in the side of the face with a 1,600-foot tsunami, right? You know, you don't want to prepare or anything. Red October for real, says Wide Awake and Angry. What do you guys think? Do you think we are actually close to something? All of my peers, all my constituents, all the experts, everybody is on the same page on this, but people still don't want to hear it. It seems like we are headed into really, really horrendous times. And I'm not saying that to be a downer or a Debbie Downer, but it's kind of the truth. By the way, if you are watching this show, we are independent. Please make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield, marfooglenews.com/EMP to protect yourself, protect your car, protect your generators, protect your motorcycles, your RVs, pretty much anything you want to keep running, including your home, you can get protection for. Go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP to save $50 off each device that you get, and that actually stacks on top of any sale they are running. This is a device and a company that has actually been utilized by agencies like DHS, Department of Homeland Security, DOD, Department of Defense, and they are officially on the DEMSO team helping the Texas grid. So essentially everywhere in America has utilized this company in some which way. So make sure you can go check it out. It's a veteran-owned business. It's 100% American-made down to the screws. It is an awesome product, and it could save your life. It can also stop a Carrington-level event from frying your cars, your motorcycles, your vehicles, even your ham radio. So make sure to go check that out. Again, the car version is the most popular, but they have tons of other ones, including, of course, the home version. Once wired in, it can protect 250 linear feet away from where it is wired in, which will cover most houses. Again, make sure to go check their website for details. And thank you every time that you go and support that. Not only are you getting a discount, but you're also supporting our channel. It's the Foogle fam versus the world, and you guys are a part of it. So thank you. Dex, go ahead.
Oh, Adam, I was just going to comment quickly on the oil and OPEC, and I think you had mentioned the fact that it seems like there's this collaboration, and there certainly is. OPEC is a collaboration, so the fact that they're collaborating and they're with the plus being with Russia by that collaboration, and then doing something specifically to just benefit themselves and make their own money, not necessarily do something that would be better for the economy around the globe, which would be to bring gas prices back down. Instead, they're just going to basically stick it in everyone's face and bring it up. So, that's kind of a scary thought in one hand. I think it's something that we should be paying attention to. It used to be that we could just sort of pick up the phone and have a lot of influence over OPEC and other, countries that could produce oil, and we could have them, produce more or produce less if we thought we needed to shift prices around. And it looks like we're not getting any of that. We don't have that respect. We don't have that clout, so to speak, with those countries anymore, because, they're, or this is all just for show. And it's part of a plan, like however you want to look at it. But at the end of the day, what does it mean to you and me? It means it's going to cost us more at the pump. It's already costing us a lot at the pump. We sort of got this break, and now they're going to sort of take it away, and it's going to go back up. And there's plenty of us out there that have had these tax breaks on the pump, and those aren't going to be there forever, because those states that were doing it, they're going to have to stop doing it at some point, or they're going to have to find that money because they need that money to operate. So, it's not going to be a pretty winter.
No, it's not, and it's going to get uglier as time goes on. Couple questions. Catherine, by the way, says EMP Shield is easy. I'm doing it myself. That is awesome. The car version is extremely easy. I think anybody could do that. And then somebody else asked, does it work for boats? Or George Washington says, is there one for a boat? Yes. That specifically anything that you can think of that has a motor that you want to keep running, that can be fried by a CME or an EMP, it can be protected. So I
basically 12 volts or your standard voltage in your house. So if you have an odd a weird voltage golf cart, maybe not. But if it's like you said, anything
like
with 12
all
volts.
The movies though too. All the movies show, like in the apocalypse, the guys driving around on the little golf carts. That's great. All right, we have our caller on the phone. Let's see here. It looks like we have Karen from Columbus. Bank and strange activity and scams. Calling from Ohio. Let's see here. Karen, are you there?
Yes, I am, sir.
So what is going on, Karen?
First of all, I just want to shout out to all the fam in chat. As I said before, they're all so great. We all love each other. We support each other. We pray for each other. And love you all. I don't type all your names because I'm always on one elbow. Well, what I want to talk about tonight is something that happened to me this week. Everybody knows in there, I have a brother that's I've took in, he's stage 4 cancer. We have hospice coming in and it's pretty bad, but I wrote him a check, a large check to help him out. And he went into the bank and they started giving him, oh, well, now, blah, blah, blah. What do you want to do with all this money? And I'm like, that's none of their damn business. But those kind of messages are all over TikTok, and I've been seeing it, and I'm thinking, no, nobody's going to ask that. Okay, they ask. But anyways, the bank says, he's standing at the teller window. Well, we're going to have verification. Okay, that's great. They're trying to protect me, right? Fine. And he says, they're going to send you a link. And he's very, very impatient. He's like, hey, you got to do it. You got to do it right now. I go, well, wait a minute. I want to talk to the teller. No, you got to do this. Okay. So I get the link and I immediately push it. And it starts verbally asking me all these security questions. My social security number, my PIN number, everything personal. I'm thinking it's the bank because he's standing right there. Then he's back on there. No, I said, I just did it. No, you have to call this phone number they give you. What? But let me talk to no, she won't talk to you. Okay, so I call in there and it's the bank, the branch. And I said, okay, but I just got this link and I answered all those questions. Oh, no, just ignore that. No, I don't want to ignore that. Did you send that? No, just ignore it and answer my questions, blah, blah. Well, he's standing in the bank. Come to find out, I had to end up going into the bank sick. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And I had to withdraw it cash. Okay. And they get all this done. I said, listen, my concern as a customer is, what was this text? What was all of that? Well, no, we didn't send it. Okay, well, who did? And how did that happen when my brother is standing in front of your face and I'm trying to ask you what it was? So guess what I ended up having to do? Cancel all my credit cards, my debit card, get all new cards sent,
my gosh.
Call 3 credit unions, TransUnion, Equifax, everything to put a freeze on my account because I've given my information out through this, whatever it was I got sent.
So
I went through bank
saying
2 or 3 levels of bank managers.
So you're saying that, okay, so if you've never had this happen, if you get any kind of amount out, sometimes it's like over 5,000 or over 1,000 or over 600, depending on the bank. Where they will send you a text or they'll send you something to your phone to verify you on top of your ID if you don't have 2 forms of ID or something like this. I've heard of that. Or when they ask you, and by the way, if you've ever pulled out money and they ask you what it's for, it's kind of like, why do you care? They're supposed to ask on a certain amount. I thought it was 10,000. Like they ask because the IRS wants to know, like they have to make a note if it's a certain amount. But so you're saying that basically you thought that was what was going on. They were trying to verify it, and you just happened to get a scam text message at the same time and gave your PIN and your social and everything?
Yes. Now, how did some scammer tap into this phone call or knowing that they were trying to ask for verification and I get this scam call? Because every manager I talk to, and even when I went to, no, we would never send something asking you all those questions like that. No, that was not from the bank. I gave them the phone number, the text message, everything. No, the bank did not send that. Oh, okay. Who did? And why do you not care? They didn't care. I go, aren't you going to investigate this? they're grabbing your customer right when they're doing this, which is the only reason I believed it, because he was standing right in the bank. And I'm like, so yeah.
And
somehow
he's telling
these
you,
scammers are so damn good.
and he's telling you that you're about to get something, and you get it. I mean, what are the odds of that?
What are the odds of that? That's not right. And the bank says, no, it wasn't us. So how did that happen?
I wonder if something was monitoring you, or I mean, here's the thing: these scam operations are getting more advanced. Say maybe a week ago, you clicked on a comment or something on YouTube, and it says like, by the way, there's all sorts of scams going on right now, and there's so many scams that I see my peers and others doing videos like saying, hey, if you see me in a comment saying like, hit me up on WhatsApp, those kind of things have been popping up like crazy. And there was a joke made when 140 million lost power yesterday or the day before, largest blackout in history, the mysterious grid down in Bangladesh. Everybody joked like nobody got scam calls that day because Bangladesh lost power. But these scams are getting crazier and crazier now with the technology as tied in as it is to the banks and to everything else. This is the problem with that, is because there's things like that you normally wouldn't give out your PIN, your social, anything like that, but you're standing in a bank looking at a gentleman who is in official attire in the bank telling you, hey, we're going to send you something to verify your account, and you think this is legit, and it ends up being a scam. This is actually a great call because if anybody else has this happen, make sure, don't ask them what questions will be asked. That's scary.
Yeah, do not. They've said they would never ask all of those questions. No, I will never. And I'm very, very adamant about stuff like that. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to fall for any of that. I tell my kids all the time. Because one time my daughter got scammed. They called her up at her job and told her, go to Walmart and send this. She's a dumb little teenager, but how did they know where she worked?
I
and
did
all
the
that?
same thing.
No,
I did the same thing.
And I paid for a year for that online protection of monitoring for her. But I'm so vigilant. I'm not worried about it, right? Until now. And I'm like, it just, I'm a person who would never fall for that, but that's why I wanted to call, because maybe it might happen to other people. And if it's involving something like that, no, I'm just going to go into the bank. And then, on top of giving my brother all this money, he has steroid rage, and I'm really suffering here because of this stuff going on with him, and I'm trying to help. And, but I hope my call will just really double enforce it to people. I know y'all think you're smart, and you are, but I thought I was too. So I am going back to the bank again, because why do you not care that some kind of huge scam is happening? They're either tapping. How do they get that? How do they know that?
You should ask them to check the cameras and see you answer the phone, or and then show them the number that called or whatever. Call the I don't know. Who do you call?
I've given them all that. I
FCC?
gave the bank all of that, the teller's name, all of my phone messages, the texting and the phone number and all that. And the bank didn't really want to pursue. They didn't. Well, that's not something we deal with. But they're screwing your customers. What do you mean? I have all my money in here. That week, before that happened, I was like, I will tell you, I was really prompted. I think that's the Holy Spirit. You need to go get some money out of the bank. Don't have all that money in there. And I kept going, no, and even finally, after all this happened, I decided to do it. And then I go, oh no, I can't take that much. I'll just take half. And then it was the day after that, I heard that you were talking about all the banks in Australia, or maybe it's TikTok. I thought it was on you, but all the banks in Australia shut down. I'm going like, okay, we need to be a little smart here.
And in Lebanon, and China had issues, and Canada, of course, during the protests had their issues and things like this. I would say look into precious metals and things, solid things, potentially. Dex would say maybe hedge some bets on some Bitcoin or something. I don't know. I don't really. I know people get mad at me, but I don't. Something about Bitcoin bothers me. The whole we don't know who made it, and now everybody's adopting it like that. I still don't get that.
Understand it. So
I don't either.
I'm
I'm just ignorant to it. But Karen from Columbus, I appreciate your call, and I'm glad you got this out there because there could be other people that end up having this happen. Always ask if what questions is this call that if you're going to have them text or call me right now, what questions are they going to ask so I know it's not a scam? I heard of some other lady that basically got a scam while she was in the bank, and they asked for a PIN and all that stuff. They even say that too. They say we'll never ask for your PIN, we'll never ask you for your personal.
Right.
They usually ask like who is your first grade teacher or something. Something stupid like that.
They made me set up three new levels of questions because of what happened to try to protect me more. But I wasn't the one in the bank. My brother was. And then I had to go in there because I said, hey, enough of this bullshit. Why is it? Oh, excuse me. But, hey, Jammer, I hope you're feeling better. Yeah, just be careful. It's caused me a lot of grief.
Well, no problem. Well, Karen from Columbus, thank you for calling, and it's nice to speak to you. And again, don't be a stranger, okay?
Love ya. Bye.
All right. Hope it all works out. Now, it's Karen from Columbus, from Ohio, Ohio. Shiny Future actually said, Karen said, inside job by the teller. Almost sounds like it. And then Stephen McMahon says, thanks to our great mods, you do goods. Hey, Stephen McMahon, thank you for your support. And again, thank you for being here. Pretty much every show. Thank you, Stephen. All sorts of great people have just popped in. Over 3,500 in chat now. Thank you. And over on DLive, lots of great people as well. Thank you, Vicky K. I appreciate that. Thank you for the diamonds. Michelle K. Kimbria, Scooby-Doo, right? Virus Untreated, Zuby360, and Drummond Daddio. Thank you for following. All sorts of new people there. Mike Newson, thank you. PB&J Sandwich, thank you for subscribing. People think of the funniest names. Christina Espinosa, thank you for subscribing as well. Crypto Tom, thank you for subscribing. I think we have Crypto Rick. So now we've got Crypto Rick and Crypto Tom. And then Biden drops an F-bomb while touring Hurricane Ian devastation in Florida. It appears that President JB dropped an F-bomb on a hot mic moment during a visit to hurricane-ravaged Florida on Wednesday. The candid moment came as President B exchanged words with Fort Myers Beach Mayor Ray Murphy, who had just thanked the president for coming to the state. The two men were shaking hands and then began to say something that was not quite clear in the audio. Several Twitter sleuths suggested he said, "No one with Biden," although the last word in particular was muffled. So he could have said something else, but no one F's with Biden. Apparently, here's the thing. If anybody looks at that man and doesn't think that he's like a car salesman from 50 years ago, politician all the way through, and talks like that all the time when he's not on camera, you haven't followed him enough. I'm sure T-Man and every other president, including Obama, probably did the same thing. These guys are politicians. They're basically lawyers with more power. I don't know. They're most of them are really scummy behind the scenes. As far as this president, we've seen his, he gets mad. He's like old guy, get off your lawn mad. Just my opinion. You can share yours if you're a big fan of him. Feel free to tell me how great he is. But I'm just saying in general, these guys, especially the ones that have been in for 30, 40, 50 years, in my opinion, they're slimy. Slimy as it gets. There should be a few exceptions out there. If you know one, please let me know. Almost every high-up politician you can think of has some sort of dirt out there of some sort. I don't think you get that high in the rankings without just being absolutely cutthroat. Murphy replied, yeah, I won't say that. Gee, damn right. And laughed. I went on to talk about how you can't argue with your brothers outside the house. It kind of reminds me of that clip that he recently was in an interview where he was asked if he was fit to do the job, and implying mentally fit. And he went off on, like, he just started going on he says, I am fit as they are fly, and I'm a PB sandwich, and I'm glue on a piece of bread, and I'm the best thing since Diet Coke labels on a floor patch of Jimmy Dean. What? In fact, all those videos, they have to put bouncing balls so you can follow what he's saying. And then huge explosion in South Korea after missile launch goes wrong. So they say that a huge explosion happened, and it was because of some sort of failed or messed up thing, a failed missile test. It says officials in South Korea acknowledged a failed missile test on Wednesday after an explosion at a military base left surrounding residents concerned about a possible attack from the north. So I just want to remind you, if the North did hit a base in South Korea, just say a shot over the bow, like we just took out something of yours, I'm pretty sure they would actually say it was a failed missile test or something. I'm just asking questions here. What if this was something that did happen and they tried to not escalate, so they said it was their own fault or something? Citizens there, especially, and citizens on Twitter, said, I think it's Kim. We think that somebody just hit us. Somebody just attacked us. I wonder, is there something that, they didn't want to escalate, so they just kind of absorbed it? I don't know. What do you guys think? It says the blast at Gwangnyeong Air Base, about 60 miles south of the North Korean border, happened as allies of the Republic of Korea and the United States conducted a series of joint tests late on Tuesday, a show of force after Pyongyang's latest long-range missile launch. A social media video thought to have been taken by nearby residents shows a missile being launched into the night sky. Another clip appeared to show a large fire at the Gwangnyeong base, but the accident wouldn't be confirmed for several hours. Too long? Probably. Moving on, NK fires another ballistic missile towards Japan amid ratcheting tensions with the U.S. North Korea fires another ballistic missile towards Japan, and it said that the South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff have said Thursday's missile launch was the 6th in 12 days and the first since it fired an intermediate-range missile over Japan on Tuesday. It follows joint missile drills by South Korea and the United States and a return of a U.S. aircraft carrier to the sea between Korea and Japan. I believe that may be the NATO carrier, but I'm not sure. It might not be the NATO one. It could have been one of the other strike groups. But if you guys know, let me know in the chat below or comment down below. Jeremy Eckelberger, thank you. Let's see here. They should give President B early retirement with full benefits. Oh, I'm sure he's got that hookup. Let's see here. Y2K really happened. Yes, it did. Not laughing at your name. That's pretty funny. Pilgrim Prepper, Ronald Sipple. Louis Strongarm, yes, that needs a beat to the echo. Let's see here. Good point at Bumpity. It says WIS Jen. And Guns and Water says your connection. Adam decompressing. Yeah, probably thought it froze, huh? So this is real stuff happening here. And again, not trying to be a half empty glass here. But unfortunately, we have everything ratcheting up around the planet, and it was expected. It's something that people like myself and Dex have been telling people for years, but unfortunately, people didn't believe us back then. Then CV happened. They're like, you got lucky on that one. And we've been telling you this is going. Look at all the planning. Look at all the building. Look at all of the missiles and all of the tanks and everything else that's being made at rates we've never seen since, World War II. And now we, of course, have every country in the world involved in some sort of conflict or some sort of argument. And we have NATO going ham. We have Russia and China and all of their allies all talking, all meeting, all doing different things. If people are in denial at this point, I don't know what to say. Of course, we can pray for this all to de-escalate and go back to normal. But if you really don't know what's going on with the world form and everything else that's going on with that, then you should definitely look at what they actually have planned. There's real initiatives, and some of these things could actually benefit from a war. Dex, do you want to pop in? This was pretty big, and of course, nobody's surprised by it. And in fact, people are desensitized to it to the point where nobody even cares if Kim launches a missile. But we're dealing with something that is obviously now he's working with China, he's working with Russia, he is in with Iran, he's in with all of these countries. And I know that you're popping in here, so no worries. And I'll get back to you here. Hold on. Sorry about that, Dex. I had you muted. I'll cover this and I'll get back to you. I understand you got the next caller lined up. Poland asks U.S. for nuclear weapons amid growing fears of Putin's threats. So this is pretty bad. Obviously, we have a lot of places that are either trying to join NATO or NATO states that are handing out, iodine tablets and all sorts of crazy things. Well, now Poland says it has asked to have U.S. nuclear weapons based on its territory amid growing fears that Vladimir Putin could resort to using nuclear arms in Ukraine to stave off a rout of his invading army. Dex, so the whole thing is that they're placing nuclear weapons in Poland, and then of course NK is doing all this crazy stuff all in the same 24-hour period. We've got this submarine floating around somewhere. We have all sorts of things going awry.
Yeah, the proverbial poop is hitting the fan, so to speak. Yes, Poland is definitely asking. I don't know if it'll happen. That's kind of a big ask, they ask for this, they ask for that. But at the same time, it's also kind of telling that they are asking for that, right? So it's not just like out of the blue. There's a definite need and a definite concern for their own country that they think they need to have this type of technology in it to defend, or really, hopefully, without the use of it, keep somebody from hitting them, that somebody being Vlad, right? So that's happening. The Poseidon carrying submarine went missing, but is now sort of surfacing in a few different areas, but it's on the prowl, so to speak, and everybody's worried about where is it. And like you said, what's happening with NK, it's all this stuff is just lining up right now to sort of bring about what we think is going to happen. And I hope it doesn't, but we've been talking about it. They've been reporting that, he's getting to the point, he being Vlad is getting to the point where he's backed into the corner. And he's going to have to do something. And we're going to have to, we're reporting on a few more updates tonight on what he's doing so far. And we'll get to those in a moment. But there's definitely, that big line that everybody's expecting. It's not like it's backing off. It's not like there's, peace talks happening. It's not like there's everybody saying, well, let's, go home and sleep on it. It just seems like it's getting hotter and hotter.
And right on the border, Belarus gave Russia permission to house their nuclear weapons there. So Poland has nuclear weapons coming right up to their doorstep. So now they're asking for nuclear weapons on theirs. They want to put them on their porch so they can say, we'll hit you back, or, U.S. will hit you back. This is getting to the point where it's really hard to kind of walk a lot of this stuff back. Europe and all of these other places going through these giant changes. The entire world is getting reset, people. I mean, there's no other way to put this. And right now, we have a very uncertain future. This is why we've asked people to just look at their personal situation and see, how well do you have things planned just in case. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and look out for some curveballs too. Okay, there could be some crazy curveballs, and I'll give you an example of one. You've got Sweden and Denmark that are doing an investigation on where what the source was, or who is responsible for the pipeline explosion. Right. Well, Germany has joined them. Rightfully so, they have. They've done it because they're the recipient. This is their gas, and it gets distributed from them to the rest of Europe. And if they don't have it, it's a big deal. So if there's a curveball in there, that something comes out that is not what they expect, that could change a lot. Could you imagine if all of a sudden people that were on one side flip to other sides?
Like Germany
what if there's
flipped?
A third party? Yeah, if Germany switches, if all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, or what if there's a third party involved that is responsible for this? And how does that get implicated if it's another country? And what happens with that? So this could get really squirrely. So I'm, be prepared for a curveball.
I don't think they would.
It seems like it's.
I don't think they can hide it. If somebody else did the Nord stuff, if somebody else did, I don't think they're going to hide it forever. And I have a crazy feeling that something is going to come out. That's such a huge ordeal. The question is, if that was the case, so there are motivations, to not have that going to Germany. If Germany, and there's a one possibility and a crazy kind of side theory that if something happened there, Germany would possibly switch. Imagine a World War III where Germany, Russia, and China were all together among all of the other smaller players. That's something that's being talked about by the smartest people in the world right now. And of course, they won't show it on most media, but that is something that's being talked about and being yanked off of live TV. Dex, did you add that thing to tonight's web only, the Jeffrey stuff?
No, I didn't, but I will. But I'm actually going to give you something right now.
I briefly talked about
it
yesterday, but I don't think we put it in web only.
So go grab the link I just put in screener. It's from No One Here Yet in chat, who sent it to us on Twitter. It's kind of interesting too.
Okay, let me load this up real quick. And Dex, do you want to describe what we're looking at here?
Yes, so that is a from the Health and Human Services group. Look at what they're buying for emergencies, nuclear emergencies. This just came out.
Yeah, October 4th, yesterday.
Yeah, thanks No One Here Yet for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. No one's here yet. Thank you. Wow, BARDA is using its authority provided under the 2004 Project BioShield Act and $290 million in Project BioShield designated funding to purchase the supply of the drug. Amgen will maintain the supply in vendor-managed inventory. This approach decreases life cycle management costs for taxpayers because doses that near expiration can be rotated into the commercial market for rapid use prior to expiration, and new doses can be added to the government supplies. ARS, also known as radiation sickness, occurs when a person's entire body is exposed to a high dose of penetrating radiation reaching internal organs in a matter of seconds. Symptoms of ARS injuries include impaired blood clotting as a result of low platelet counts, which can lead to uncontrolled and life-threatening bleeding. So even if you had a tiny cut on your arm, you could bleed out like a hemophiliac. It says to reduce radiation-induced bleeding, Nplate stimulates the body's production of platelets. The drug can be used to treat adults and children. It says Nplate, this stuff, is also approved for adult and pediatric patients with immune thrombocytopenia, a blood disorder resulting in low platelet counts. Repurposing drugs for acute radiation syndrome that are also approved for commercial indication helps to sustain availability of the product and improves healthcare provider familiarity with the drug. So they're saying they're getting, and again, familiarity, right? They want our doctors to start to know this stuff, right? They want to get this in the hands of people and get it out there. That's kind of freaky. Good eye. No one hears yet. Thank you for that. For immediate release. That is the HHS, Health and Human Services. I believe that's what it says.
And it's the Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response, that division of the HHS, which I didn't even know that division existed.
$290 million. Things like this, it's not just one thing. It's the bigger picture. And when you see the bigger picture, it's getting pretty clear. I guess if this was a photo, it'd be like 2,000 megapixels, and you can see every little piece. By the way, I want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/friends. All of the great channels that surround us, all of our mods are over there. Also, all of our friends, as far as channels that we believe in, think that are helping get information out, or are just genuinely awesome and polite and beautiful people inside and out and on and off camera. All of those channels are there, so go check that out. If they're there, we currently vouch for them. Can't say if people will change. It's online, so people turn on a dime, but those people we actually do believe in, and most of them we've known for years, so make sure to go check them out. All right, and then, yeah, really good catch. And then, let's see here. Well, let's get to our next call, and then we're going to talk about U.S. believes Ukraine was behind an assassination in Russia. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Dex, can we get our next caller on? And it looks like we have Jake. Jake is going to talk about Putin promotes Ramzan. We'll talk about that here in just a second. While we're waiting for Dex to get him on the line, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. This is basically a one-stop shop for everything you would need, including long-term survival food. They have MREs of freeze-dried foods. Essentially, they take all of the moisture out in a process that keeps almost all of the flavor, and it gives this food, packaged and sealed, a 25-year-plus shelf life. So again, this is something freeze-dried food. Freeze-dried foods, one, is expensive. It's in high demand and in low supply. But two, it is something that if you want to do yourself, you possibly can. But it depends on your budget. Just to get into one that really can produce the amounts and the numbers you need for long-term survival, you're probably going to want to get a bigger one, and they're about $4,000. So if you do want to just get something pre-made and if you don't want to do all the work yourself, this is a good option. But I do highly recommend, if you can, look at do it yourself. If you can't get into freeze-dried foods and MREs and get all of that, there are ways you can do this yourself. But you need to go to the right people to do it right. When you are preserving food, if it's done wrong, you can hurt yourself. You can harm yourself later on. Think about this. If you put a steak in something, try to dehydrate or do it wrong, 10 years later, you could end up ending your own life by eating the wrong thing. So remember that. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep to not only get 20% off right now on the 3-month supply. Go check out the landing page. They have all sorts of other deals. You can also get the Alexa Pure Pro. You can get iodine tablets there. If you are somebody who is concerned about that, that is available there. Those are actually not being sold on Alibaba or AliExpress anymore, which I don't know how many people were going on there, but I thought it was weird that basically the China's biggest kind of online market that sells that kind of stuff just said, nope, we're not doing it anymore. Why? I have no idea. But if you want to get that, or battery banks, or radios, or survival books, there's all sorts of cool stuff. If you want to get into this and just jump right in, you can do so through us. That will end up helping us as well. Not only are you going to get a discount in most cases, but you're going to help your favorite independent channel. Obviously, we're all prepper-minded here. If you are going to go and get prep, if you get it through us, you get a discount, and you're helping your channel at the same time. So thank you, everybody that does support any of our affiliates. It is appreciated. Thank you, and thank you. All right, and then next, let's get Jake on the line. Jake, are you there?
I am.
So,
how are you?
I'm good. So you said that Ramzan Kadyrov was just promoted. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah. I have no idea how to pronounce his name, but yeah.
I don't either.
Yeah, he's oh gosh, Chechen. He's the Chechen now general, who was one of the main proponents for using tac boom booms, I guess you can say, in areas that were being captured by UKR pretty quickly. And so they were his main message to the bear, and he actually specifically goes to higher ups within that government. And so like he's extremely close to the leader there and all that stuff. Anyway, he has just been promoted, but everybody's kind of worried because he was the only one of the few who is basically just as hard as you can get in terms of the use of tac boom booms. I mean, like he's totally for it all.
Nuclear, the use of nuclear bombs.
Yes. Yeah.
It's okay. You can say that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, no. Thank you for being
cool.
careful.
Yeah, he's totally.
I appreciate that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's totally for the use of nuclear weapons. And then I also heard something that was a pretty interesting scenario that may play out, that they may not actually detonate one on the ground and have visible damage, like in terms of structure or casualties of people, or forced leaving the earth. Anyway, this person that I was talking with, he brought up that maybe they could could detonate one similar to an EMP that would just show that, hey, we're here, we can use it whenever we want to. There was no air defense that could stop this, and the next one will be very much lower and much hotter for you guys. I thought that was a pretty interesting concept, that it wouldn't necessarily need to have any property or people damage. It would just be a show of force almost for the entire world, that, hey, you need to cool it. We need to go back to the peace table. We need to just talk this out. And then what I also thought was kind of nerve-wracking is the second article that Dex sent you. The leader of the bear country, he's making almost all of his decisions apparently in some underground bunker that he's made. And according to this article, which I will say everything should be taken with a grain of salt, but according to the article, it's taken as fact. He's making these decisions, and he's already letting people know, like within his core family, within friends, family, to just start preparing now, because something big is about to happen. And what's interesting is, and I didn't share this with Dex because it was a passing tweet, but there was a Twitter handle that was quoting somebody, but they never gave a name. So again, that's a red flag for, accuracy. But the tweet basically said that someone within rankings of the bear military are at this point kind of mouthing off, saying, this is just going to happen. Something big is about to happen in the next few days. The world's going to, it's similar to the statements that the German the parliament style member said, though it was misspeak apparently. It's something similar that
But
you
it
guys
wasn't
are going to be
misspeak.
shocked at what happens.
But you're saying this time these guys aren't misspeaking. They're just saying it straight out.
Right, exactly. They're just like, yeah, something big's about to happen. And what's kind of, the tweet later goes on to say, believe me or not, I don't care. And I just need to get this out here. What I think is kind of interesting is that it doesn't sound like it's coming from somebody high up, because if it was coming from somebody high up, it would be more cautious in their verbiage. But their quote is very direct in saying, no, something big's about to happen, which tells me it's probably coming from somebody much lower, like a colonel or lower, who is basically just given orders and, essentially to kind of like lay low and pull back. Because if you look at what's going on, that's exactly what's happening, is that the Bear forces are basically just ceding all this massive swaths of land, and everybody's taking it as a win, but not asking why they're giving up this land. I mean, there's no tactical value for this land. There's no resource value. They've already stripped up most of it, and they're stretching the UKR forces so thin that if they do end up launching tactical nukes, then they could decimate the entire army of UKR within a matter of hours. And nobody can stop that, because there's no forces on the Western Front that can kind of reinforce the Eastern Front if something like that happens, because they're all taking land. Like, they're all being used to push forward. It's like the UKR president has gotten very greedy in his actions, and he's kind of just pushed all his forces into this one basket. Well, if this one basket gets nuked, then you kind of just lost your army. It's nerve-wracking.
In this article, there's a couple shocking parts here. It says the supposed evacuation includes his eldest daughter, Maria Vorontsova, 36, a geneticist. By the way, isn't it just like every evil villain in the world is also some sort? There's always a geneticist. How many people go into what do you call that? Geneticism? I don't know. And then his other daughter is a rock and roll dancer turned mathematician. Like, this is like the villain family right here. But it says relatives, this was a quote, relatives and friends of the heads of state will be delivered to the bunker in advance. This is pretty freaky. This is stating that it's like soon, in the next couple days. And what you meant when you said like it would be a big show of force, it would be kind of like what happened with Japan, where it was war. They nuked them once. They still didn't give up. They nuked twice, and they're like, okay, we'll stop now. Right? Are you saying something like that?
Yep. Exactly. I mean, that's because personally, I think what would happen is UKR gets nuked once, and they will expect us to kind of back them up, but I don't think we're going to come to their rescue. I think we're going to let them hang out to dry, and then Russia's going to see that they're not stopping. They're just kind of stalling, and then they're going to push for the advantage. Which, I mean, let's face it, UKR doesn't have nukes and Russia does, so they already have the advantage. But yeah, I mean, and what's interesting is apparently he even told his mistress that to kind of seek shelter. He's not bringing her into the bunker, but
or the love child.
Apparently gotten to the point where, right, or the love, yeah, exactly. But it's gotten to the point where he's letting people know that, hey, find somewhere to go. A mountain, anything, because it's about to happen.
Wow. And how could you do that even if it was a love child or out of wedlock? That's what that almost says this isn't true. It's like, how would you not? I guess a lot of people will joke and say, I could see not inviting your ex, but your daughter, even if it was a love child, they say that Elizaveta was not invited. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then the last thing is, are you familiar with the site called ADSB Exchange?
No, I'm not. What is it?
So it's Alpha Delta Sierra Bravo. It's basically a site that you can go onto and track any kind of air traffic, be it civilian or military, whichever. And I had it pulled up. What's interesting is that when you zoom out Because you'll see if you press the U, if you go to the website and you press the U up in the upper right-hand corner, it shows what military aircraft have their transponders on. When you go over Europe, there's only 4 things flying right now, and 2 of those are German, and 2 of those are one's a Pakistani and one's an Egyptian aircraft coming in from the west over Ireland. But other than that, nothing, which I find kind of interesting because literally this entire time, since February when this all started, this whole map has been covered with planes. I think the fewest I've seen is maybe 6 or 7, and most of those were our planes, our aircraft. But right now there is no American, there's no English, there's only German. From NATO, there's only German planes flying. And then when you go to our side, over CONUS, America, for whatever reason, aircraft are avoiding North Dakota. And North Dakota has Minot, which is the rocket city of America. And it's like they are, and I don't know if this is standard practice. I'm not a pilot for the Air Force or Navy, Marine. You know, I'm not caught up on any of that. I just think it's strange that there's some planes that are changing like its entire flight path just to avoid the very north central of America, where all of our Minutemen, all of our, Nike or our old Nike systems used to be. They're all avoiding that one area just in case. I think it's just in case we need to retaliate. We're not going to hit any planes from military side. There's civilian planes that are flying over there, but in terms of military traffic, we're not going to hit anything if we need to retaliate and go either west or east, depending on who starts stuff.
Well, scary thought. And Dex, it looked like you wanted to chime in there at one point. Did you want to pop in?
Yeah, Adam, I was just going to mention that you're familiar with you just didn't catch the name. This is the flight system that we use.
Yeah, I know, and I thought he said that Putin has. I thought he was saying it was a Putin-made website.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. It was
no.
I misheard you. I know we use that site all the time. I thought you said that Putin has a website called this and this and that, and yeah, I totally missed that. But yeah, I use that.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, we use that.
I'm sorry.
So wait, but just to make sure that I'm totally correct on that, you were watching it. What time period was there no flights over there? And then
right now.
Right now.
Like right now. And I reading the comments also, and Rip Curl, I completely forgot his message or his video that you talked about a few days ago was on Minot, and that base is in North Dakota. They were moving those tips of nukes, conventional, I don't know, but they were moving the tips. And so maybe they did load them onto a few payload systems because, like I said, there is no aircraft going over North Dakota right now.
And just so you guys, if you didn't watch the last week of shows, Rip Curl called in with pictures sent to him basically of what looks like U.S. soldiers loading up tactical warheads, specifically that we believe that with a fair amount of certainty because of the kind of container holding it. It's a very specialized container. They only put 6 on each humongous, 40-yarder truck type thing, and this is if this is recent, then this is freaky. It actually shows them loading it up from a bunker. This was what we talked about the other night. This is why a lot of folks are starting to go, okay, this is getting real. And
what's interesting is that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I remember watching that video and you guys didn't really know if it was a recent picture or set of pictures or if it was more current. I would, now with ADS, I would kind of say, and of course the events of what's going on, I would say it's more recent than anything. Just for instance, there's a base north of Seattle. A C-5 took off from there, or C-17, excuse me. C-17 took off from there, and instead of flying over North Dakota, Montana, that area, which would be a straight line, And again, I don't know if the curvature of the Earth played into it. I'm sure it did, if you believe in that. But anyway, so it took off from Seattle to go to Maine, and instead of flying over North Dakota, Montana, all those places, it went north over Canada and in through region or Regina or whatever Winnipeg, that area, Ottawa. So it went through Canada instead of through just a straight line through the United States to go to Maine. That's how big of a swath of land they're trying to avoid.
A detour, a huge detour that probably costs thousands of dollars in fuel.
Exactly.
Well, man, Jake, great call. Thank you for letting us know about, especially those articles. We will add that to the website so everybody can access that. If there's even a little bit of truth in those, that's scary. That was from Business Standard, but it makes clear at the bottom that this is a syndicated article. This is something that a bunch of people grabbed. So this is most likely, Dex, wouldn't you say if this is syndicated in Business Standard, probably paid for the rights to kind of rebrand it? Isn't this something that's probably all over the place?
Yeah, it probably came from a syndication, whether it was AP or somebody else, right? It's going to be coming from a news source that syndicates their content out.
Yeah, because I've even looked on how you do that, right? And this Business Standard basically pays to get this syndicated article, and they kind of rebrand it, put their name on it. Pretty crazy stuff. If this is at all true, very, very alarming things here. Well, Jake, thank you for calling in, and I appreciate you. And man, don't be a stranger. Everybody would love to hear from you again. You got a brilliant brain on your
Excellent.
head.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much. That was Jake. So Jake has called before, it looks like. Jake was calling from Texas. Jake, I thought I recognized you. I didn't know if that was a first-time call or previous. So that's alarming. And that HHS came from that came from No One's Home Yet. Look at the big picture here. Look at all of the things. I mean, how could you have, say, just a giant blank wall, and somebody spray paints a white dot in the very center, and then draws, 40,000 red arrows to that white dot? Where do you think you're going to look? Probably at a squirrel. I mean, let's just be real. It's 2022, and there's TikTok. Dex, go ahead.
I'm just impressed you didn't crack a State Farm joke with Jake on the phone.
Oh,
I mean, chat's just been they every time he calls, that's all they talk about. But you got to ask him what he's wearing.
What are you wearing, Jake?
Tell him. Yeah, khaki pants.
Khakis. Oh, sure you are, Jake.
She must be ugly.
Yeah, sure you are, Jake. Yeah, my husband's busy. Thanks. All right, so back to this is going to get a little worse. This is kind of, if it's not bad already, I should have warned you guys. Today is kind of an anxiety-ridden show. If you're easily panicked, there's actually more coming. So tune out at this point if you do get easily anxious or make horrible decisions when scary things happen. We're not here to make people make those. You should all be adults and have a head on your shoulders and but again, it's hard not to get freaked out by all of this stuff. But we're not going to show you rainbows and ponies if it's dark horses and villains riding them. Thank you. By the way, I love Jesus forever. It's Jay, Scooby-Doo right. Of course, Miss Jammer. Thank you. Luna Soul 27. Thank you. And thank you everybody that's supporting over on DLive. Appreciate you guys. And Be Real Beast, I wanted to say I missed your first one. It actually showed up late, so I apologize. And then you actually did a second one. Thank you, Be Real Beast. Here's for what you guys do. God bless. Thank you, Be Real Beast, and I appreciate that. You know it's not necessary, but we extremely appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. Stephen McMahon, Scenic Adventures. I also missed you. It came in late. Gas shortages just before our polls seems like a way to interfere with the polls. No gas, no vote. Scenic adventures. I don't know. Well, people will still be buying gas. They'll just be broke doing it. Stephen McMahon, when they get to a point where the Social Security numbers are all compromised, their next step will be the mark of the beast. I don't even think they'll need to do that before doing it. They'll just say, hey, it's convenient and it'll keep you safe. There's going to be crime everywhere in the street, but if you have one of these, you'll have a robot that will walk beside you and protect you. You'll have your own RoboCop, but you have to have the barcode. Otherwise, the RoboCop doesn't know how to protect you. See what I mean? Get yourself a Ed 209. New satellite images show Russia's nuke-carrying submarine Belgorod lurking in the Arctic. So this is a big update. We said it went missing. Now we're telling you they say they spotted it. And it's now in the Arctic. It says new satellite images show that Vlad's Poseidon nuke-carrying 600-foot submarine Belgorod is lurking in the Arctic amid fears that Vlad is planning to carry out a nuclear test. It says new satellite images show that Vlad's huge nuclear submarine, allegedly carrying an apocalypse and doomsday weapons, lurking around the Barents Sea as fears grow that Vlad is planning to carry out a nuclear test. The nearly 600-foot Belgorod submarine has disappeared from its home base in the Arctic Circle and may be on its way to the Kara Sea to test the Poseidon nuke. A NATO warning note leaked over the weekend has suggested. Now, supposedly, that note they say that was a leaked message, that was not supposed to go out to the public, and they believe that they are going to test it. Hopefully, it is a test. If they do end up using it whatsoever, it is untested as of now. We haven't seen any 1,600-foot waves, and is there a science to it? If they go lower or higher, does it make a smaller or a bigger wave? How does this thing work? Are they going to be able to test it a little bit far down and it will do a 20-foot wave and not damage anything? How would they test something like this? If you don't have a tested and proven kind of thing, then you don't know if it works. Satellite images published by Naval News show the submarine is currently operating on the surface of the Arctic. The vessel was seen in the White Sea leaving Severodvinsk, a city in North Russia, a few weeks back. It was later spotted in the Barents Sea on September 22nd and on the 27th. The Belgorod, which is in the region of 30,000 tons, is the largest built submarine in the world since and armed with the Poseidon nuke. What an evil name. Poseidon, the god of the ocean. Poseidon is a drone that is said to be capable of traveling huge distances underwater before detonating with enough force to trigger a 1,600-foot nuclear tsunami designed to drown and irradiate coastal cities. You can't get more villainy than that. This is like straight out, what movie is that? It's like the Penguins movie where they have the evil geneticist. He's got his daughter, the geneticist, that's just going to whip it together and make some creatures while they're at it, some Frankensteins. This is absolutely terrifying. What in the hell is going on in the world? And then Dex, do you want to cover Vlad will be overthrown by Vlad generals in coup if the tyrant decides to nuke UKR?
Well, yes, and then let me ask you. Maybe I missed it because I was on the phone with callers. Did you hit the one about Oh,
it was next.
The U.S. believes UKR about the what happened in Vlad's country?
Oh, no.
Car explosion.
That was next. I'll pop it up right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I just want to make sure we didn't miss it. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on right now. So, yeah, we have talked about specifically these different events that were happening back at. We almost called them like a tit for tat because it was like they would, they tried to take out a specialist that was one of the people close to Putin, but they ended up taking out the guy's daughter, unfortunately. with a car explosion. So that happened. But what is coming out is the U.S. is saying, hey, we had nothing to do with it. And not only did we have nothing to do with it, we're going to point the finger at UKR. So that, on one hand, it was sort of like, okay, well, why wouldn't you just keep your mouth shut? Why wouldn't you just, this could be intelligence that we just don't release, right? But we're going to put this intelligence out to enrage. And mind you, I'm sure that, it's not like Putin sitting there going, I wonder who did that. It's probably everybody said, well, yeah, it's your enemy. It's the one on the other side of the line there who you're fighting with. But it's still, when you come out with this public statement like this, it's almost like it's in one hand, it's adding fuel to the fire, but is it also maybe setting things up? Because they even go out so far as to say there hasn't been a retaliation yet. So does that mean that what they're doing is giving out the evidence and proof to say, okay, now it is okay for you to do the retaliation because here's who did it. It was UKR, not the US or the UK or Poland or some other, NATO country that might have been involved. So,
or do you think they're afraid of us getting attacked because they thought it was us? Do you think that they're possibly putting that out there so because they think that
it certainly could be that, Adam. It certainly could be that. I also think that makes us look weak if we're worried about that.
Yeah,
but
why
at the
would
same
we
time,
put that out?
Exactly. Like this is mind-boggling to me that we have put it out. One, it basically puts a bullseye on the country we're trying to help, UKR, and which you'd be crazy to think it wasn't already there. But it just seems dumb to put this out. Like this should have been one of those things that the intelligence community just kept under wraps. So they're doing this for a reason, and it's probably to either evoke something or to give permission for something to happen.
Or because they see something that's in the works for us because of that. That was a very bad thing. Again, the target was a official, and what ended up happening was the innocent daughter was in the car. I don't want to just say she was innocent. We don't know how these family members are in this whole thing, but from what we know, it was most likely an innocent woman who had nothing to do with it, and from what they say was just a normal citizen or whatever. So that's not very that's alarming. And then Dex, there's now at least what looks like almost Ganda coming out that Vlad will be overthrown.
Well, yeah, and we've heard this numerous times, like from the people, whether it's oligarchs or people that are sort of against him in his own government that have said no, he shouldn't do this. And of course, we've even heard this type of statement before: oh, there will be a coup, or oh, they will do this. So here it is again, but this time they're adding sort of the nuke line on it. They're saying if he does anything or decides to to nuke UKR, then he will be taken out by a coup. That's what they're claiming. I don't know how much this is Ganda, how much this is just idealism from maybe a smaller faction over there that would like to see this happen, or is this just completely made up nonsense just to put a picture out in the West for how they want everybody to think that he's just the evil villain and nobody's supporting him.
Yeah, the desperate. And here's the thing. It would not be, if it was a completely unbiased covering of something, they wouldn't put, they wouldn't put the adjectives in there. Or how, well, you guys grammar people out there, the desperate tyrant. What is that? That's not a verb. That's not what is that? When you call somebody something, when they're already putting a slant on, they're basically the desperate tyrant. And they even
adjective.
Put adjective. That is an adjective. Okay, I thought I was right. The desperate tyrant. That before you even start the paragraph, you're thinking, "Oh, this guy's desperate." You're putting something in somebody's mind before they even read what's going on. That's usually when it's bias. And again, it's not like you want to be on the other side either, but you would think all news, if it was unbiased news, it would just be covering the subject. There would be no interjection in there. I could see like on a show where you tune into Fox and there's talking heads where, yes, they're going to give their opinions, but for some things like covering actual events or things like this, but I guess it is an opinion piece. But almost everything is just an opinion piece using real. There's almost no like real, just here's the facts, here's the timeline, here's when it happened. It's always got an interjected kind of opinion there, and it's always the narrative that, one side or the other. And that goes for them too. They do the same thing. And what we are stuck with is trying to decipher what is truth, what is Ganda, and what is actually happening. If even 20% of what is going on around the world is true, even if 20%, a fifth of what is going on, then we are in serious trouble. So even if they're lying about 80% of this, we're still in trouble. Dex, go ahead.
And I know we don't put dates out there, but this is actually a factual date. Friday is Vlad's birthday. So for what that's worth, to those of you that like to follow a date or think that anything like that has a meaning or doesn't have a meaning or would be a day of rest or party and relaxation, so maybe nothing will happen on that day. But keep in mind, and we just hit Thursday here on the East Coast. So yeah, in 24 hours, it'll be his birthday.
Yeah, and he's getting up there. So if he does blow out all those candles in the bunker, it might stink the place up. Don't know. Let's get our next caller on. It looks like we have Andy on the phone. Oh man, great! I can already tell this is going to be a good one. While you get Andy on the phone, I do want to remind folks today's show is powered by Energy. If you've never seen a solar generator, this is one of the most coveted and one of the highest quality out there. Energy, the Flex 1500 in specific, is the one that I know about. I have not tried the Kodiak XT or the Kodiak LT yet. Again, the Kodiak LT I will review at some point, but the Flex 1500 is my go-to system. It is a modular system. It is an amazing system because you can actually add and extend it up to 96 batteries. It is absolutely silent, so people cannot hear that you have a generator running from 3 blocks away. That's the biggest thing. If you are in an actual SHTF situation, you do not want the neighborhood knowing you have power when no one else does. For obvious reasons, if people do get desperate, they're going to be listening for that. And if you've ever lost power in a snowstorm or anything else, then you know exactly who in the neighborhood has one. This system is really great also because there is little to no maintenance. There's no running motors, and it can be protected by an EMP shield. You can get one that is directly made for this. It's actually the only solar generator you can get an EMP shield made for. And there's no gas involved. If you have some solar panels, again, you can shop around for those. You can go to Amazon, but I highly recommend their foldable panels. Their foldable panels have a handle on it built into the metal, so you can literally just pick them up and take them with, and they all come with custom carrying, basically a hard kind of protective covering, almost like a briefcase that goes around each one. I can carry 4 and the generator with 1 or 2 batteries easy and actually go. It would be a real pain in the butt to walk 40 miles or something with it, but it is doable. And that's the cool part about this. You can extend it up to 96 battery and make it a huge system, or you can have it as a portable system. Most people are just going to get 1 battery, and that 1 battery, it packs a punch with 1,000 watt hours. It can also be charged, again, from the wall and the car. You can get different adapters. You can actually get a mod that allows it to triple the input. I'll show you how all that works when I show you mine. I'm doing a video on this because it is a really awesome system. It will save lives in the event of a disaster, and it doesn't have to be SHTF. It doesn't have to be World War III. It can just be an earthquake, a hurricane, a storm. I'm sure there are folks in Florida that if they do have something like this, they're using it right now. Imagine having power when no one else does. I mean, you don't have to sell people on this because it's something that everybody wants. but it is expensive. That's why they have made other products. The Kodiak XT is a built all-in-one. That is coming out in December. And they have the Kodiak LT. If you just need to get all your phones charged in a storm, if you need to power something real quick, the LT, which is really sweet, is a smaller one. That's 350 watt hours, and it's all built in, and you can hook it up to solar panels. All of these really, have different pros and cons, and I'll go over that at some point. But this one, the Kodiak XT, is really good for RVers and van lifers. You hook up 2 of those, and you can pretty much run anything that you can think of. One of them can run most things, but if you wanted to run, like, I don't know, an industrial, fridge or something, or crazy high-powered something that, sucks up, 2,200 watts or something, that's when you can actually do that. You just need to link 2 of them. So again, make sure to go check it out. You will get a discount upwards of $170 off, and you are helping your favorite channel. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. That's marfooglenews.com/energy with an I, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. You're helping us, you're helping yourself, and of course you're getting a discount. So you can't really go wrong with that. Otherwise, I'd highly recommend checking out, if you are going to go into the gas-powered generators, make sure to look it up and research them. There's all sorts of different options on that end too. We don't have an option for you, but if you do end up going that way, make sure to do your research first. You get what you pay for with gas-powered as well. All right, Dex, let's get our next caller, and it looks like we have Andy on the phone. Andy, are you there?
I am. Good evening. How are you?
And I guessed you were a lady because the IE and Andy with an IE. What's going on, Andy?
Well, I don't know if you recall, but I called in about a month ago, and what I called about was the ghost cities in China. I mean, in Xi's country. And
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I blew that.
No, you're fine. I've said China 3 times today. It's the amount you say it. So don't worry about it. Keep going. So the ghost cities in China.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And one of them, the cities was Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I thought that was kind of odd. And so I thought I would throw it out to the Fugel family, And then fast forward to just this last weekend. And I'm talking to one of my neighbors who I see maybe 2 times a year. And he has his little children with him. And so they're telling me all about school. And then one says, yeah, we're learning Mandarin. And I said, what? Yeah. And I said, as in Chinese? He said, yeah. And then they started talking Mandarin to me. And so then I said, oh, please tell me more. I want to know more about this. And so in this one particular school in Casper, in the middle of our state, is an elementary school. Now, these are in K through 5, and these particular children are under 10, and they're learning math, science, history, everything, all of the big, 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic type thing. And then the things that they're learning in English are like PE and gardening and, whatever. And so I thought, something is interesting here. We're teaching our little children Chinese, Mandarin, and this is Wyoming. I mean, we're all about the cowpokes,
Well, so when I was in elementary school, they had Spanish immersion, and one thing that was actually put into that is because they did predict back then that Spanish would be I want to say like the number 2 most spoken language. So they were trying to set kids up for basically for, if there's a lot of that language, then you should probably learn it. I would think that the same kind of mindset behind that, and then to be specifically Mandarin for a huge chunk of the school, like what made them decide which languages to learn? Was it by the geographical area? How many people moved in from which countries? What would that area look like in 10 years via the census? These are things that go into how they decide how to do these things. So, and by the way, if you don't remember Andy's last call, I do. You talked about the ghost cities, and what Andy was really surprised by is there's an actual ghost city. If you don't know about these are empty, hundreds of thousands, if not millions. In fact, I think it's millions of units. The apartment complexes all have condos, things like that. There are houses, there's duplexes, there's millions of units that are just completely, nobody lives in them. In fact, there's whole cities that are just blank cities. No one lives there. There's a basic kind of skeleton crew kind of doing, blowing the leaves away and things like that, polishing up the statues, but no one lives there. That's why they call them ghost cities. In these ghost cities, they have a ton of them that replicate different landmarks around the world. There is an area that looks like Paris. Of course, that's one of the most famous. There's an area that looks like London. There's an area that, and it, like she pointed out, that looks like Jackson, Wyoming. It's almost like, is there anybody who's really extremely important in Jackson, Wyoming? I had a thought, and it was just a crazy thought, and this is tinfoil hat type of stuff. But what if there were very powerful people around the world, and after something went down, say a global kind of just horrible event happens, all the powerful people that kind of towed the line would then end up having a home, like you would have an area that would be kind of like what you were used to, right? And you could move there after everything else is destroyed. If for the people that, turn red or whatever in a takeover in France, they would be able to have, or Paris, So Jackson, Wyoming, why would they do I've heard Jackson, Wyoming. I've never been there myself, but I don't see it as like the number, one out of the top 10 tourist spots in America. Why would they make a replica of Jackson, Wyoming? I guess, there is some touristy stuff there, but it doesn't rank in the top 10 for them when they're building a whole city around it. As far as the kids learning stuff, it's kind of like, well, do they predict, the population to change over to that way, then maybe set the kids up for success if they need to be able to speak it or have to be able to speak it at some point? I don't know.
Well, one thing I'll tell you that's kind of interesting, side note, is that way back when there was a town called Dubois, Dubois, and the cowboys didn't like that. They didn't like so much of the French influence, and still to this day, that town is called Dubois.
I guess I'm not catching it. Du Bois.
Oh, it was originally Dubois, but now they won't call it Dubois. It's Du Bois.
Huh. That's odd.
Never mind. So anyway, going back to the original thing, I thought that was quite interesting that, here we are, the smallest state in the nation, and we have over about 250,000 registered voters, and that's it. And for all of this, it just seems kind of weird. So I thought I would just throw that out to the Foogle fam, see what they thought.
Well, I saw a few comments that were some Sarah 2.0 said, well, maybe it's just because they have somebody that can teach it, so they offered it. But it sounds like what they do in the schools that I knew about was the whole school, and you were either in this one or this one. The Spanish immersion kids were on one half of the school, and then the regular classes were on the other. One thing that is impressive about that, though, is when those kids are that young, they will pick it up. And Mandarin is one of the hardest languages in the world. I can't, maybe they're setting them up for success because that's pretty impressive to learn Mandarin. And you have to be that young to learn something like that. Same with English. English is one of the most complicated languages in the world. And we think it's just, it's easy, but it's, how many words do we have that have like 8 different meanings depending, even the same spelling, like live and live, lives and live. It's like they're the same thing. If you were coming to this country and seeing the words we have, night and night and night, there's a million different complexities there, but yeah, I get what you're saying here, and I now I get what you're saying about the Dubois and Du Bois. That's sounds like somebody from the country going, "Oh, it's Du Bois."
I don't feel so foolish.
I'm from Washington. I'm getting my washing machine out.
That's right.
Yeah, I get you.
So anyway,
Artichoke.
I won't take up much more of your time, but I thank you for what you're doing. Appreciate it. It sure does bring a lot of a little bit more light into the world, along with education.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy. You have a blessed night, and we will talk to you later. Don't be a stranger, okay?
I won't. Okay. God bless you.
All right.
Good
God bless
night.
you too. That was Andy. I was gonna say that's Andy from Dubois. Dubois. No, Andy is from Wyoming. All right, and then by the way, thank you for this month's PayPal people: Chris G, Claire L, Davis D, Tracy Q, Linda S. Thank you, and thank you. I appreciate that. All right, and going back into it. Vlad orders Russian government to take over UKR's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant following annexation. So he's essentially saying, because we've annexed this land, it is now part of Russia. As far as we're concerned, this is our power plant now. Dex, can you tell people why that's such a big deal? This is power that is not really running right now, but will they be able to then turn the power and plug it into their own stuff, or?
It is one of the largest producing nuclear power plants there. As we have reported all along through this conflict, it had a lot of turmoil going on around it, including damage to it. And a matter of fact, at one point they started shutting down all the reactors just to be safe. There was concern about where the power was being sent. Vlad has always, and the Russians have always been around that area because they've occupied that area, but they've actually had UKR officials actually doing the work. They were in the plant. They were the workers that were doing it. And then they had the IAEA come in and do the inspection, which was one of the times they said, hey, you need to shut this down. We don't want this running right now with all the conflict because something bad's going to happen. So at this point, though, they're literally kicking out the people that are working there. They're saying, you guys need to get out. We're taking over because it's our country. And the real question I think that's important is what's going to happen with the power. It may not be on right now, but it will be on again at some point in the future unless something tragic happens. And when it does come back on, if it is part now of Vlad's territory, what's he going to do with the power? Is he going to keep it for himself? Is he going to sell it back into UKR, which is where it was originally going? And it was, power for a lot of that section in Europe. And is he going to sell it for a hefty price tag? That'll be interesting to see. I don't think it's something they would want to give up lightly.
That would be pretty messed up. That's like stealing someone's car and being like, well, I'll let you drive it on the weekend. But you're going to have to pay me. Northern Girl Hobbies from the Canadian Freedom Pugs. Salute. Thank you. Be Real Beast. Everyone playing chess. I still can't find my marbles. I'm okay. Welcome, everyone. And then, by the way, thank you to Luttrell Group. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Says MonkeyWorks channel tracks flights. They have the evidence from public flight trackers for all aircraft. He is ex-military. He showed the planes in the air around the boom boom, and he is on YouTube. He has the proof. So will they. Well, that's what the quote was from Jeffrey on Bloomberg. Actually, it was a Bloomberg show. And they basically tried to cut him off and be like, you're crazy. We don't want to argue with that because we don't want to see your evidence. We're news here. We don't have evidence. So yeah, I get what you're saying. And MonkeyWorks, what if it'd be kind of crazy if Jeffrey Sachs watched, somebody like MonkeyWorks. And I bet they do. Think about all the viewers that we have just in general as alternative media. The show Redacted has been doing better views than nighttime, primetime CNN. That's insane. How are YouTubers getting more views than legacy media? Crazy. We have more live viewers than daytime CNN. But, at nighttime, even on CNN, they still have, 1 million viewers and stuff like that. It's so surprising considering how much they have obviously been caught in their words and biases. Stephen McMahon, same with Fox, same with all of them. All of them are owned by some rich dude that has an agenda. Stephen McMahon, I would pay to hear Miss Pazuzu say, I think there is clips of her saying that. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's got to be some stub toe out there. And then Shiny Future for Us, Inside Job by the Teller. Again, I got that. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. And with the power plant, we'll follow it. That's another thing that's, a huge deal. This is all the last 24 hours. I mean, how much can happen in 24 hours? And then Vlad's army runs scared as maps show huge Iranian advance in just 4 hours. So if you're rooting on UKR, then yeah. But guess what? The more that they do actually win, if they are actually winning, and if they are making them retreat, that's not exactly a good thing. Vlad has some of the most high-tech missile gear, nukes, and all sorts of other things that they could deploy. And I believe that they would probably be more likely and more approved of deploying if people feel like, well, if you keep going in there and they support the battle, if people, because there's a lot of people that do support their special military operation and a lot of people that do support Vlad, and if those people then say, hey, well, you'd rather not lose our people, lose theirs, right? If it gives them some sort of justification, well, this is what we have to do now because it's not working this way. They want to win no matter what. They want to take all of the country, which from all the things that have come out recently and all of the verified things, not the opinion pieces and things like that, it sounds like no matter what, he's not going home without it. He wants to take that area and he wants to keep it. So what is he willing to do to get that? And that is what people have been debating for weeks, but it seems to me like the entire world is screaming at the top of their lungs like this is about to happen, whether they want it or not. Same with Taiwan. Once Taiwan starts, if Taiwan starts when this is all going down, we are just going to be, up to our neck. This is going to get pretty funky. Dex, do you have an opinion on this?
The one thing I would question, and we sort of talked about it earlier, is what happens if they're moving these troops all in there and they're intentionally retreating out because they know they're about to do something and they need to get their own troops out of the way because that's going to be the hot spot.
They're taking civilians too. That's what freaks me out. They're grabbing civilians.
Exactly.
That there's all these stories saying that on their way out, they say they're kidnapping and taking civilians over the border with them. So are they taking the civilians out of the danger zone so they don't get accused of a crime against humanity or something like that before they do something horrid. Maybe they, obviously not all these guys are. You can't say that every person in any military in the world is a horrible person. They're in the military. They've been trained to do what they're going to do. They follow orders. But maybe they're human beings. Maybe the lower down the ranks, they said, we need to get these people out of there if there's even a chance we're going to do something. And maybe that's why they're taking all of these people back over across. So everybody is cheering like, man, this is getting real easy. Like four UKR dudes with 1950s rifles are like, man, this is crazy. We're winning, we're just winning left and right. We just took this whole airfield with 2 of us. Man, why are there 4,000 people running that way? Oh, shh, it's here. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know in the chat. Crazy, crazy world we live in. Haven't mentioned this in a while, but make sure to go check out Off Grid if you want a Faraday bag or a duffel bag that can actually protect all of your electronic devices, or a backpack that can fit 3 days worth of food and water and also protect all of your electronics. Then make sure to go over and check out marfuglenews.com/offgrid. Use the code Marfoogle to get a discount and a sweet bag. These bags were actually originally made for FBI as evidence bags, and then that was when they were EDEC. They said, well, man, we could sell these to consumers as well. They opened up and they started Off Grid to basically sell the same technology, but to regular people. So make sure to go check them out, marfuglenews.com/offgrid. Use the code Marfoogle for a discount. Dex, let's go over the web only, and there is a lot of it, and I just want to remind people, if you want to get the pictures from what we mentioned earlier, that is also on the website, but that is on a different page. That is actually on the show called Sure Looks Like It. Let's see here. Sure Looks Like It, Tactical Being Loaded. That was from October 1st, 4 days ago, or 5 days ago. If you want to go see those pictures, you can. Otherwise, you can go by channel. There's Marfoogle News and Marfoogle TV. When you click on TV, you can see all of the Marfoogle TV videos all in order. Click on tonight's show, and then you'll find it. Dex, go ahead.
I'll add a link to that one on tonight's show. So for those of you that think you get lost too easy, just come to this page, marfuglenews.com, the thumbnail for tonight's show. If you're on YouTube, open that description, click on show notes. It'll take you right here. That's the page. It's going to have everything we just covered. It's got this as the thumbnail that's on it. Everything we just covered. You're going to then get down to this section that's got a yellow bar that says overflow. That's where the rest of the story is. And then down below, all the information from the caller. So there's a link to the school down there that had the Mandarin language classes and what was happening there. And they've specifically said it on their page. We've got the other information from the callers there as well. So a lot happening in the overflow. So if you're not going to the webpage, you're missing out on the rest of the story. So make sure you click on the link just so you can get caught up on what's happening. We do this every day. More and more information about what's happening with Russia, some stuff going on with the chips, specifically in Taiwan, and what chips are so important and why they're there. We also added, I think you just showed it, Adam, that video from the professor who was talking about what his opinion was of the event with the gas pipeline, and how he was doing that on air. I want to say it was on Bloomberg, and they were like, hey, you can't talk about that. And they sort of tried to shut him down, but he kept going. So check out Professor Sach on there. Updates on Twitter and Musk, and then of course a lot going on the political spectrum. So everything you want to know, what's been going on there with T-Man, even with other people that are running and what their thoughts are, and other people that are coming out of the woodwork. to support and go stumping on campaigns, because all that stuff's going to be happening. It's going to be, we're a month away, less than a month away now. So updates, as well as from the creepy side. You've got Kevin Spacey, you've got EpiPen. They're all in the news right now. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, open up the description on YouTube and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here.
Yep, so much more there, especially all of the stuff going on with Elon. You can follow that if you're not absolutely gored out of your mind of anything Elon by now. And then tons of other great stuff. There's also the Friends page up at the top. If you hit that tab, you'll find all of the other channels. But mainly that page for tonight has all of the information that we talked about tonight. And thank you so much for everybody that showed up, that shared our stuff out. A lot of you don't end up... most people don't share and like and all of those things. I would ask, if you do find any value whatsoever in our show, please try to share it with at least one person. And most people are like, oh, somebody else will do it. If you take the initiative to do that, we could grow. Again, we don't have the normal growth that any other channels have, because we've obviously covered some stuff over 4 years, 5 days a week, that marks us down. So if you can help us get that back up, thank you. And then make sure the show will continue over on Jams right now for the shoutro and for everything else. Marfoogle Jams is our third channel. Make sure to go subscribe there as well if you want to see the continuing of the show. Dex, are we already switched, or how many?
It'll happen in just a moment.
So we're switching over to Marfoogle Jams. Have a good night. Thank you to everybody. If I missed Super Chat, I will get you tomorrow. Love you guys. It's time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Inside, hiding deep and dark at night. I know you got a heart inside.